Welcome to another chess game analysis video. Today I want to show you a game between Tomasz Klepaszka and Krzysztof Pulski. This game was played in the Rapid tournament in 2012. And it features a very nice opening that was suggested to me in one of my previous streams by FireRage. Again, thanks a lot guys for suggesting openings that I can cover on the channel. And I hope the game contributes a little bit to the fact that you can enjoy this year's Halloween a little bit more, because it features a very, very nice and scary opening. Let's dive into it. E4, E5, knight f3, knight c6, knight c3, knight f6. We have a very standard 4 knights game. And now we have the surprise of the game, the Halloween Gambit, knight takes e5. Where white very early on sacrifice a piece that can be accepted very nicely here. Knight takes e5, and you only gain a pawn for a piece, and the engine doesn't really approve of the gambit. But in a practical position and a practical game, I think this can cause some problems if black doesn't know what they are dealing with, and especially for blitz and rapid. I think you can try this gambit once. Maybe it surprises your opponent, and it's a very nice, scary gambit for Halloween. That's why it's called Halloween Gambit. First introduced by a German, and now it's pretty much universal, the name. D4. The idea of white is to try to gain as much space advantage as possible, kicking around the black knights. Knight c6. This is the first inaccuracy. According to the engine and theory, knight g6 followed by e5, knight g8, and bishop c4 is a nice continuation for black, because you're just up a piece and it's very hard for white to prove compensation in this position. So knight g6 retreating this way would be better than retreating this way. However, in the game, knight c6 happened, and after d5, the knight goes to e5, and after f4, the knight finally goes to g6, where it could have gone 2 moves earlier. So you basically just gave white 2 tempi, which can be deciding, especially in a gambit. e5, kicking the knight again, knight g8, and d6, trying to ruin black's pawn structure after c takes d5, 6, e takes d6, with a very nice e pawn here, which restricts the development of black's pieces. Queen b6 happened, attacking the pawn. Queen f6, for those of you who might face this gambit with black, is the better approach, and after knight b5, threatening the fork here, the engine actually says that you can just allow the fork. Knight takes f4, bishop takes f4, queen takes f4, and now you simply allow knight c7 check, king d8, knight takes rook, and after bishop takes pawn, the engine actually says -5, black is completely winning, and this knight is never getting out of there. Development is quick, so black is better. Maybe you need to analyze this a little bit deeper, but I think a very interesting position. Queen f6 in this position instead of queen b6, which now allows knight b5. The queen is a little bit misplaced there. King d8, now trying not to get forked, and now queen f3, which is a mistake. F5 again, kicking a knight would have been better. Knight d5 and bishop f4, attacking the knight again. And you see how in this Halloween gambit, all the knights are just getting kicked around by white pieces, and therefore the compensation basically lies in exactly this. The activity and space advantage. Activity also of the pawns, if you can say that. The pawns always push forward, and very nice. The d pawn. In this position, it's very unclear. Quite a chaotic position. Black king still in the center, a little bit underdeveloped, and the d pawn is very nasty here. White should be okay with a draw. Nevertheless, I don't think you have got more than a draw here, because you're still down a piece. So, but in the game, queen f3 happened, which now just blunders the pawn. Bishop takes d6. Bishop e3, attacking the queen. Bishop c5, bishop takes c5, queen takes c5. And again, the trade of pieces helps the side which has more pieces. In this position, black has got a knight more, so this bishop trade definitely favors black. However, white still has a couple of tricks, knight castles. So white king now in safety, and the black king is aligned with the rook. Knight h6, trying to prophylactically. The knight is going to come in here, and then there are fork issues, so the knight immediately develops to h6 to prevent this. Prophylactically, knight d6, now going in there, a very nice knight. And the engine even says here, develop the rook and give the exchange, and you get 2 knights for a rook, which is better. And maybe white can hold this for a draw, but black is better in this position, and you just need to get rid of this knight somehow, because it very much restricts your movement and you can't develop. But in the game, king c7 happened, and now bishop c4. Again, it's a blitz game and a very chaotic Halloween gambit, a scary opening and a very chaotic position. A lot of mistakes happened. The correct way to play this with white is actually here to attack the queen. And after the queen moves, you attack the queen again. After the queen moves, you have this position, where there are constantly like threats of going in here. The piece harmony is just not there. Black is very much underdeveloped. Look at this king. The knight also doesn't look very nicely. This is underdeveloped. So white is technically up, black is technically up a whole piece, but is unable to develop. And I don't think this is a very nice position in a practical rapid game to play. Probably an equal position here. But bishop c4 happened, development. But now we have knight f5, a very nice maneuver, now trying to get rid of the very nice knight on d6. Knight takes f5, queen takes f5. Exchanges again favor black, so this was a nice maneuver in my opinion. But as always, when you're trying to play a gambit, you need to play actively. Rook d4, trying to activate the rooks. d6, trying to activate and develop the bishop at some point, which you're gonna see. Rook h d1 and now bishop d7. A better move would be to prophylactically prevent any captures of this nice d pawn, which sort of holds the position together, with rook d8, and then maybe trying to develop the bishop later. Immediately developing the bishop just leads to an even more chaotic position after g4, and now you see the queen has not that many squares available, and it looks like you can just take the pawn, which play with the black pieces did. Queen takes g4. The better approach would actually be to go back to the queen side, queen c5, and prophylactically now trying to hold on to the pawn instead of what you could have done earlier with the rook. You could have also saved the pawn, but now queen c5 protects the pawn, which is also playable. Black is still better, but not a lot. Queen takes g4, however, in this position just loses the game. Queen d5. It's not the most precise way to play. Queen a3 would have been better, aligning with the pawn this way, but it's a minor difference, and I think queen d5 definitely works out fine. After rook a8, I want to show you this continuation. You could technically now play back with the black queen, but it's a chaotic position. You see the rooks are not developed, which is one key issue in black's position, and the very badly placed king here is also an issue. You may try to prevent like the check with b6, but then the queen just goes to c3, and now there are attacks against the black queen, and the king is aligned with the queen, and a lot of nasty things can happen. Let's say you move the queen, then just bishop d5 check, king b8, queen f3, and now the rook is hanging, and you can't even recapture the king because the queen is also protecting the bishop if it captures. So a very chaotic position where still at this point black is up material but not very long. So queen e3 would not have helped. This would have been the engine choice in this position, but you see the position is already very bad because of the development. It's always the same story with gambits. If you try to hold on to the material when you shouldn't, and you don't develop your pieces with the side that has more material, then it's just going down the drain. Play with the black pieces here, try to indirectly prevent any captures, but queen takes d6, now you can just capture. King c8, Now we have bishop takes f7. You grab a pawn, but more importantly, you clear the c4 square for your rook to enter. Queen f3, trying to bring the queen back, but rook c4 check. Bishop blocks the check, and after bishop e6 check, black resigned the game. I'm going to show you the mate in 4 if you have not spotted it. You can block with the rook, rook d7, but bishop takes d7 check, king d8, only move, bishop takes c6 check, king c8, and now bishop takes f3, taking the queen with checkmate. And again, you see there are still underdeveloped, not yet moved pieces in black's position. I hope you liked this Halloween gambit, one of the most scary gambits in chess. And not a very correct gambit, but I think for a blitz and rapid game this is very much playable. And it's a lot of fun if you can kick around black's knights, gain space advantage, develop quickly, and try to checkmate the black king. And there are a lot of pitfalls for black as well in this position. It's very hard to actually hold this if you don't play correctly. There has been theory developed in modern days with engines and with books, but it's still, I think, on low rated and medium high rated games. This is definitely playable. I hope your Halloween day was a little bit improved by this game. If you want to see games, you can send them in. Check out my Lead Chess community study, where you can see and analyze for yourself all the games that I show you. Check out my Instagram, and for live chess gameplays, you can check out my Twitch. Everything in the description. See you in the next video. Bye.